Okay, we're hot.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, Paul Pritts, thanks for joining the STO
Yeah.
Nation podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
This is totally awesome. I really like it because this entire podcast has been basically made by everyone in the group. So even though we can't meet each other, due to COVID and stuff, at least we have this. So I'm
Right.
really excited. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
about 4 to 6 other people almost on a daily basis helping make this podcast work. So you are
Nice.
guest number 1. So
Guess number one.
no
I'm
pressure.
the guinea pig, right? Is that?
Yeah. But you have a beast though, right?
I do not actually.
Oh, okay.
I have a classic.
Okay.
It's the Pebble Gray
Okay.
that I have made. It's kind of like a beast on steroids.
Yeah. I've seen your
So
pictures. That's why I thought it was a beast.
yeah, it's coming along nicely. I'm happy with it.
That's awesome. So, Paul, tell everyone about yourself, just a quick little bio, whatever you feel comfortable
Sure.
with, and talk about some of your hobbies and whatnot.
Absolutely. I think, well, I mean, if people haven't figured out what my hobbies are by now, that's, but no, so for me, my name's Paul Pritts, obviously. I've been into off-roading, overlanding, really kind of before they started calling it overlanding in the States, probably around 35, 40 years.
Wow.
So we're talking, dirt bikes, dual sports, uh, side by side, different OHVs, quads, uh, you know, off road vehicles, Jeeps, Land Cruisers. I'm really more of a Toyota guy, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. But nothing against Jeeps. I love them all. They're great. They get us out there and get us, enjoying the outdoor sports
Right.
that I love. So I got my first dirt bike when I was about 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
That was, I think, the first mistake my parents made. They realized that shortly thereafter. Yeah, it's become quite a passion of mine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun. I live in Phoenix, Arizona now. Specifically, my wife and I live in Scottsdale. We're both empty nesters, and I have quite a large immediate family. So that keeps us busy when we're not out and about and camping and overlanding and whatnot.
Nice. So before you got the mode, what did you get, or what were you using for overlanding?
So this is my fifth RV.
Oh, okay.
The mode is my fifth RV. My very first RV that I bought was a little 1980s pop up trailer that I used to take my kids to the beach and we'd go surfing. I had prior to that, I had a VW bus. If you want to consider that an RV, I grew up in Southern California,
Oh,
so
okay.
you didn't really grow up in Southern California if you didn't have a VW bus and live near the beach.
Right, right.
So we would take that down to Mexico. When I was a kid, we'd go down to Ensenadas and Rosarito, and we'd spend the weekends down there. In the summertime, maybe even more than that. And eat tacos on the beach and
Nice.
surf and get into trouble
That's the
and
good
out of
life right
trouble.
there.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So how long have you had your mode, and where did you purchase it from?
Good question. So I've had my mode since October of 2020. So first week of October is when we picked it up. I think it was the 6th. Anyways, we got it in Little Rock, Arkansas from Moig's RV.
Okay. So
And
you traveled to go get that one.
2 one-way tickets. Yeah, my
Yep.
wife and I, we flew out there. So one of the things, we reached out locally, and I posted this on the forum before. We reached out locally to our local dealers and talked to them about purchasing locally, but the lead times were pretty long.
Yeah.
I had established a relationship with Tim Morgan, Captain Morgan, over at Storyteller, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, give me the list of give me the name of a dealer, contact information for a dealer if you can, or an unsold unit." And he gave me the first available unit that he knew was not sold yet, that had not had somebody's name on it. And I told him I didn't care where it was. I'm I travel quite a bit for work, so it didn't really bother me, jumping on a plane and flying, three-quarters of the way across the country.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a really good tip because a lot of people on the forum are trying to find the mode or any type of stow just because of the high
Locally.
demand, and then
Hmm.
they call around at dealers. So that's actually a really good tip in regards to call stow directly to see what mode isn't spoken for. So
Right. Right.
that's awesome.
So
So what was it like?
you had also
Oh,
asked about what I had right before the
oh
mode.
yeah. Hmm.
So I went about a 10-year period of time, 8 to 10 year period of time without an RV at all. And
Oh.
just I went back to tent camping because I got tired of having these really big RVs. My last rig was 30 foot long, and it was always a chore, to set up and break down, and the tanks, emptying the tanks and storage was always a hassle.
Hmm.
Uh, so I actually had an overland trailer,
Oh.
which there's a lot of different manufacturers out there. It was kind of an off brand, but it was similar to like turtleback type overland trailer with the rooftop tent and the onboard kitchen, water power,
Yeah, those look
and
cool.
it was a blast. I had that for a few years, and it was great. I put it behind my Forerunner, my Land Cruiser, and we would take it out to places that you really can't get, pretty
Yeah.
far away from other folks, which is what I was doing while I was tent camping in between those years where I didn't have an RV. And honestly, I didn't think I'd go back to getting an RV
Hmm.
when I decided to do that. And that was kind of a transitionary period. I was already looking at vans. In fact, I ran into the Storyteller group at an Overland Expo up in
Okay.
Flagstaff in 2019, and met them up there for the first time. And that's kind of when I started kicking the idea around of actually going to a van
Hmm.
and would it suit my needs, and started doing my research. And we spent well over a year doing research, about a year and a
Yeah.
half doing research before I pulled the trigger.
Yeah. So what was the final thing that made you pull the trigger? And
Um,
what else were you looking at?
so initially, we were looking at doing a custom built van,
Mm. Okay.
and there's a number of folks out there. We're looking at Sportsmobile. There's a couple other brands out there that people are super familiar with, and decided that the lead times and the cost factor were a little more than I wanted to wait for. I kind of wanted to get into it a little sooner. COVID certainly kind of pushed that along, but we had already kind of made the decision that that's what we were going to do. We were going to get a van prior to COVID.
Hmm.
But COVID certainly added to that. That was certainly part of the equation.
Right. So what are the couple of features that really made you like the stow over the competition?
Well, I think it goes without saying the battery to start with.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a huge selling feature. Um, for somebody that's had 5 different RVs, I've always struggled with power, and
Hmm.
do you have enough? And as my family grew, my demands grew. I do work remotely, and especially with COVID, and so having the ability to have an unlimited supply of power throughout the day to make sure that I'm able to stay in contact with my team at work, and that's a huge part of that as well.
Yeah.
I think the footprint, the 4x4, those are probably the basic must haves.
Yeah.
If it was two or three things that I had to have, power, 4x4, small footprint,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, especially with your overlanding background too. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
long
can't see
wheelbase.
you.
No,
I can't see you with the one, that big boat. What is it? The
the
177
170. Yeah,
or
170
170?
extended.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it would be nice to have that kind of room, but yeah, it would just depend. I mean, if I was doing a lot of state parks, things like that, but that's generally not where I go in the Southwest.
Right.
Yeah,
So you mentioned that you research for just about a year, if not a little bit longer. What are
right.
some of the resources that you use, or let me rephrase that. What are some of the resources that you found most helpful during your research?
That's a great question. I think I watched it. I know it's going to sound corny, but I watched a ton of YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I'm more of a visual learner. That gave me an opportunity to kind of see what other people are doing, and better understand kind of what was going to suit my needs. I went to a couple of dealerships, but that was difficult because a lot of times they wouldn't have inventory, or they're trying to steer you towards something that maybe isn't quite what you're looking for. What I found, the decision for me, the final decisions, when I had kind of narrowed it down to these two or three vehicles, was going to an RV show. And I went to an RV
Mm.
show. And if you haven't been to an RV show, and you're trying to make a decision like this without going to one, I would discourage people from not, touching and feeling, especially when it comes to a product like the Storyteller product. It is very different when you touch and feel it than
Mm-hmm.
other products. And, I have taken rigs that were not designed to be off-road rigs off-road. I know what happens. I know what happens. So when he's telling me, and they're telling me, oh yeah, the cabinets are all aluminum framed, and I'm like, they're all TIG welded, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know these things, and yep, they
Mm-hmm.
fall apart. I've had cabinets fall off the wall on me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, I mean, and these are top two, top three manufacturers of RVs. Doing things in them that they weren't designed to do. The mode is purpose built, and
Mm-hmm.
so that really helped me make my decision. Will it do all of the things that you need it to do without taking it off road? Sure,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. But for me, that's my happy place. So I'm gonna look for a product that fits that I don't have to go back and try to modify, repair, or mess with.
Right. No, that makes total sense. So you fly down there and you go pick up the mode. Do you have
Mhm.
any advice or tips for those, I guess we'll call them wannabes or future mode owners, about the purchasing experience, about the pickup experience, things of that nature?
That's a really good question. So, right. So, I mean, for me, one of the things that I always tell folks is, if you're going to pick up a brand new RV, and you've got a dual power, which most RVs are now, and dual power is AC and DC. Okay, and DC is everything that runs off your battery. AC is everything that runs off shore power. Okay, we'll call it. Your if you're plugging in your RV. The first thing I did when I walked up, and I said, "Oh, I see you have it plugged into shore power," and they said, "Yep." I said, "You need to unplug it." And he goes, "Okay," and because I want to make sure that everything works without it being plugged into shore power.
Right.
I'm taking a cross country trip. I want to make sure that that all of my outlets work. So I asked for a plug tester. We turned on the inverter. We turned off the inverter. I checked all the USB plugs. These are the things that are going to, be a concern of mine. Obviously the sink is going to work. They're going to check all that. I put
Mm-hmm.
a little water down the shower to make sure that it actually drains,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's not backed up, things like that. Um, and again, just going through a mental checklist of things. Now, there's a delivery checklist that I can't remember for the life of me who did it, but she did an amazing job of putting together a delivery, like a pre-delivery
Mm-hmm.
inspection checklist that I would highly recommend everybody. It was very inclusive. It really contained a lot of very valuable information. I gave some feedback on some of those items as well. But it was great, the collaboration of a lot of different owners.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can't remember who did that, but I'll put a link in the show notes of that for
That
anyone
yeah,
who's getting ready to pick up. But yeah, that's an important piece of
yeah.
information right there for everyone. So you go and you pick up the mode, you drive it back to Arizona. Was there any surprises on your first voyage back?
Uh, there was one small surprise, but I figured it out. So, um, we didn't drive straight back. It was actually more of a curve, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. We took about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks to drive back from
Nice.
Little Rock. So we spent some time out in the Ozarks, and did some sightseeing out there. It was fall, so the colors were changing.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
yeah, it was amazing. The I would highly recommend, if you're going out of state to pick it up, have the dealership make a reservation for you locally to stay a couple of days, especially if you've never owned an RV before. If you
Hmm.
haven't, if you're not a previous owner, and previous owners, I think they can relate. Oh yeah, we know we expect things that might go wrong. If you've
Hmm.
never owned an RV before, and there are a lot of first time buyers right now, have it over the weekend. That way you can go back to the dealer on Monday if you've got a couple of questions. Or if you get it in the beginning of the week, spend a couple of days at a campsite close by, so that you've got some help and resources available to you before you drive across country. That we did that. We spent about 3 days in Arkansas before we headed out across Texas. So
Nice. That's really good advice, actually.
yeah,
So let's talk about some good stuff. Let's talk about the mods, because I know that I've seen some stuff on the forum. So
just one or
um
two, just
just
yeah, one or two
just
mods.
I think you're like the mod king sometimes, but
That's I've been called worse. That's okay. I'll go
that's a
with
good.
mod king.
So let's talk about some of your mods. What do you got? What'd you do?
Wow. I didn't prepare for that question. I should have. So what have I done? Um,
Well, I can rephrase the question. How about what are some of your what are the best mods that one you find useful and two you really like? Not because of the usefulness, but just because of, you know, whatever.
well, there's the cool factor mods, right?
Mhm.
So there's the like the beast type mods, right?
Mhm.
With the light kits and all that. So I did do the KC light bar.
Is it
Um,
just like the ones that they put on the beast?
it's the exact same light bar that goes on the Beast,
Okay.
and again, I did. I've used KC lights on previous overland vehicles that I've owned. I have KC lights on current overland vehicles that I own. Besides the mode, it's a great product. They've been around for a long time. It's an American-made product. You can't really go wrong with KC. And I'll be honest, their customer service, in my experience, is really one of the best in the industry, if not the best.
That's good to
So
know.
yeah,
Have you actually used the lights?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
curious because
I
I
probably
haven't.
overused. I probably overused the lights, uh,
Okay.
but they're fun. I mean, they're fun. So I have the lights that are around the rack.
Okay.
Those, and I did post a video about that. I'll tell you what. One of the worst things about overlanding, if you get out there past dark and you're in an unfamiliar area and you're trying to find a campsite. So having the side lights to cast out
Mm.
on either side to the periphery, so you can get some kind of bearing on where you're at, or find some of these more remote, camping sites that are back tuck in the woods. Super helpful. I've used similar lighting on other vehicles in the past, and it's an inexpensive mod that keeps you from getting stuck or frustrated when you're
Yeah.
getting there late at night. And if you've got the captain co-captain thing going on, regardless of who's driving or the gender, there's always that tension, and that helps relieve that helps
Yeah.
relieve some of the tension, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do.
and so that I found is worth the money for sure. The light bar itself, I just recently put it on. I've only used it the one time, when I was up in Flagstaff, and very happy with it. It's
That's
great.
good.
Yeah, I will be out. There are more lights coming, but
Oh, really?
that's for yeah. I still
What do
got a
you
small list. I still have a
what do
small
you
list of mods.
where are you gonna put where are you gonna put the lights? I feel like you already have a
So I'm
360.
doing no. One of the other things that I'm doing, one of the last mods that I'll be doing, is the CA tuned, the hammerhead bumper, and
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
I'm putting the hammerhead bumper with the winch on,
Mhm.
and I'll be putting a couple of lights on that, and those will be ambers only. I'm putting ambers up front, and the
Mhm.
ambers are really good for cutting through dust. So if you're out on a trail and there's dust or blowing wind, of any kind, it does an incredibly good job cutting through that. I always have a couple of ambers on anything that I'm running that I'm going to do some overland with. And again, it's strictly for dust. That's the only reason I use them.
Oh,
Or fog. Fog is good as
right.
well. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
Mhm.
So, what other mods are on your
So,
top three?
well, so lighting, I would say suspension. I just had the rip kit done, and I did. I can't remember what Agile calls it, but it's the one up from the beast. So I did, the coilovers
The
up front,
full,
the
yeah, because I
full
think
rip.
it's a
Yeah,
full in the light or something like that. I think. Okay, so you
sure.
got the full one.
I got the full one with the auxiliary shock up front, and it's like driving a different vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're in the driver's seat or the passenger seat. It is like being in a different vehicle.
How
You can
so?
feel the difference.
Can you explain it to those that don't have that?
Sure. So the, the decision for me to go to the rip kit was pretty easy. My wife and I, we did a trip to Moab in the fall, and when we went out there, for those of you that have driven that highway between Arizona and Moab, through what's that area there, Valley of the Gods and Monument Valley,
Mm-hmm.
the winds there can get pretty extreme. So I drove through probably some of the worst wind
Oh wow.
that I've ever driven through, outside of California on the I-10. There's some areas out there, and it was a white knuckle the whole time. And
Mm.
I had people blowing by me. Left. I had other sprinters going around me, and I knew there was something deficient. And so that was for me the big deciding factor. Without the wind, it's a great handling vehicle. It handles as I expect. So nothing against the way it comes from Storyteller Factory, but the rear leaf springs, the custom valve shocks, you can really tell the difference. And having done this to previous vehicles, I understood the value of it. I was just kind of like, I don't know if I really need it, and that was kind of my light bulb or my red flag, if you will, where I was like, okay, I need to do this. I need to invest the money. I need to invest the time to go out there and do that. So that
Right.
was last week. I was just out in San Diego and had that done. So I spent a week out there.
Nice. Now, is there a reason why you chose the RIP or Agile over the Van Compass?
Um, I think no, probably not. I think Van Compass has come out with some stuff since I made my initial appointment, because I made my appointment several months ago, back
Yeah.
in November, December, to get it done, and we're at the end of February right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so they've come out with some products that would probably make me pause and go back and really do a little bit more of a side by side comparison. I wanted more ground clearance than anything. I know a lot of folks with the Van Compass, you can keep the standard ride height.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's an option with Agile. I didn't even really ask because I wanted the increased ground clearance.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some options with Van Compass. They've got the adjustable shocks now that you can adjust for ride. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
saw that
again,
too.
yeah, they were kind of preliminary stages of that. And I know that there's quite a few people on the forum that have gone either way. I think the price point's similar. I think I'd have a hard time making an argument one way or another I think they both have their merits.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know of anybody that's necessarily been disappointed with either of the products.
Yeah, I think any upgrade you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of sometimes get a little nitnoy with who's better with what and whatnot. But I think overall, if anyone gets either the
Right.
Agile or Van Compass, they're going to be a happy people. Happy
Oh yeah.
person.
Yeah. And again, I think it's personal preference. It's whatever you prefer. I mean, for me, in on previous vehicles, I could argument, I could make the argument that Bilstein's better than Fox, or OME is better than, is better than, say, a Bilstein shock or something. I think the point I'm trying to make is you could sit there and make arguments all day. And I know that there's been people that have said, "Hey, let's do a side by side comparison." I think it's going to be really subjective. You'd have to have some pretty ideal, repeatable conditions to
Mm-hmm.
be able to do something along those lines. Again, I can't make an argument saying that one's good over over the
Yeah.
other. I don't have any experience with the van
Yeah.
company. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. It's kind of like comparing like a BMW to Mercedes. It's like each has their own little thing, but everyone
Right.
has their own preference. So
Right.
it's whatever makes you happy, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
So where, since you've had your mode, is it just you and your wife that travel, or do you travel with more than two people?
I have a 60-pound Catahoula that comes
Oh
with me,
wow.
which is a dog. Yeah. For
Oh.
those of you that don't know what a Catahoula is, it's the state dog of Louisiana for my brothers to the south. So they're great dogs, well behaved and super smart. So I'm very happy. We pretty much use the entire underside of the bed is Max's house is what we call it. So
Cute.
he gets that whole area. So
Nice.
he hangs on it. He keeps all his toys under there and his food and his chewy things and all of his stuff. That's kind of his hangout.
Do you have any tips for those that are traveling with their pets, since you have quite a large dog? Or I guess it's,
Um, I've seen people travel with larger dogs on the
yeah.
storyteller forum, and sometimes I'm like, wow, I thought I had problems, it's but no, I mean, I think there's advantages and disadvantages. I think if I had a smaller dog, I probably would have gone with a smaller lift kit on the car. I wouldn't want to pick the dog up
Yeah.
every time. But no tips and tricks. I mean, I think
Okay.
those that have traveled with pets, they've all kind of got their own thing.
Yeah. Okay. So where's some of the best places that you've been in since you've owned the mode?
Well, maybe a more appropriate question is how many miles have I put on it since October?
Ooh. Yeah. Let's talk
Yes,
that.
yeah, a little over 7,000 miles since October.
Okay.
So,
You
yeah, done
getting
some
some road
traveling.
in.
You're getting some
Yeah.
road in, yeah. So I think we, obviously, I'll go through kind of some of the states. Obviously, Arkansas, Texas, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, California. Go through Colorado. I think I went through Colorado. No, we came close. Um, so we've kind of been all over. I think Moab has been fantastic. We just did some beach camping
Oh
down in
yeah.
San Diego. Yeah.
Nice.
Silver Strands, for those of you that haven't been there, they just reopened all the state beaches in California.
Oh.
So as soon as I heard they reopened it, I knew I was heading out there. So I booked a few days at Silver Strands and then up at and that's you're right there on the sand. It's nice. It's a paved area. They have hookups if you want them. I had a couple people tell me that I was cheating by being there with the van. I did. I had them come out and you're kind of cheating by being here. I said, yeah, it's a beach thing. It's hard to find beach camping in
Yeah.
California without,
Don't
yeah,
hate. Don't hate.
yeah, don't hate. So, and then we went up to San Clemente, which is another one of my favorite places to camp. And so the San Clemente State Beach, it's
Okay.
on the bluffs. It's a really beautiful campground. Down at Silver Strands, you're on top of each other. It's a parking lot, but you've got the
Mm.
beach. Uh, San Clemente, there's a lot of open area. There's trees, fair amount of grass, and lots of hiking trails nearby as well. So it's a great area.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So, do you have any future plans of a mods? We kind of talked about that, but I feel like knowing you, you probably have a couple more.
I
And
do,
then,
I do. Yeah, it's a list. So I'm going to be doing the hammerhead. I'm doing the hammerhead bumper on it with a winch.
Mhm.
Um, I'm adding an auxiliary water tank as well.
Okay. Now, is there a
So
reason why you chose to go with water instead of a diesel tank or a gas tank?
in the 7,000 miles that I've been out on the road, I have not found where I've needed to um, go out of my way to get gas.
Okay.
There's always gas stations. And even if I'm out, we've been out extended periods. I think the most we've spent in one place has been about 5 days. And the only thing we ran short on was water.
Mm.
And so I'm looking there. There's an auxiliary water tank that I'm looking at putting up underneath. That'll just be basically a transfer tank where I'll transfer water in and out of it
Hmm.
into the main tank. And if I'm doing winter camping or sub freezing or freezing temperatures, I just leave it empty. And if there's a little
Yeah.
bit of water in it, it's not going to hurt it. It'll be fine. But it's going to be outside underneath the
Yeah.
van.
Yeah. Because I don't think it has any insulation or anything, right? It's just literally exposed to the
It's
elements.
exposed to the elements, yeah, which is fine. I mean, most of the camping I do, yeah, I choose to live in the desert. I'm not forced to live here. If I want to go and visit snow, I will do that. I don't mind cold weather, but if I don't have to live there, I'm not going to live there. So,
Right.
I for those of my friends that choose to live in the colder climates, that's okay. You can give me a hard time for it being 110, 120 here, but it's very difficult to shovel sunshine. I can guarantee you that.
Well, that's what they said in Texas, but
Right.
but so where do you see yourself with the mode in 5 years? Do you see yourself being full time, just traveling everywhere, or are you kind of stationed and using the Phoenix area as a hub? Or
More or less, yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to be full time in the mode. That's just not what I bought it for.
hmm
And we could. I just don't see any need to.
right?
The mode for me is more of a stepping stone. My goal within the next 10 years is to do a custom overland rig.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice.
yep.
So for those people that are looking at the mode, what are give me three pieces of advice that you wish you knew before buying the mode.
Well, that's a really good question. Three pieces of advice that I wish I knew before buying the mode. Um,
Or one. I mean, it seems like
yeah,
after a year of researching, you probably
yeah,
knew
I
just
don't know.
about.
And that's what I'm sitting here thinking. I don't know that I don't think I went into it, after the purchase and, oh, I should have known this or I should have known that.
Hmm.
Um, I, I'm kind of a details guy. It's
Right.
it's kind of hardwired into me, and um, so I'm not 100% sure that there's anything that I could sit here and say, I wish I'd known this. I mean, I think there's, I've got my favorite features, and I've got my least favorite features. I got, probably
Hmm.
the three things that I love the most and the three things that I hate about the van.
Well, let's
But
talk about that.
well, maybe I'll do a video about the three things I hate about the van.
You
Maybe, yeah,
probably go
I,
viral.
yeah. No, I think for me, I think that the things that I mean, and these, I had to really think about things that I didn't like about the van. And I
Hmm.
think if there were three things that I really didn't like about it, um, I think the placement of the outlet in the island for the 2021s and newers.
Hmm.
It's a pinch point, and I've studied it. I've studied the van and I've looked at it, and there are some other places that you could put it, but not without having to move a bunch of other stuff.
Hmm.
So it's you kind of got what you got there. I think because when you're plugging in there, and for those of you that don't have a mode yet, where the outlet is right at the pinch point between the groove lounge and the edge of the countertop. And
Hmm.
so if you're trying to cook and go back and forth, I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'3", 220 pounds. I'm not a small guy. So that makes it difficult for me to kind of get by. Um, I think, again, I'm nitpicking, right? It's not broken. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just for
Right.
me personally, I don't like where it's at.
Yeah.
Somebody your size probably would never even think that would be
It
an issue for anybody else.
Yes, it's a mild inconvenience for me, but I
Yeah,
can see for someone, of your size or whatnot, like that would just be really
it's kind
annoying.
of a pain. It's annoying. Yeah, it is. It's a little annoying. So if that's the worst thing I can say about the van, I mean, I think that's in all honesty, that's the worst thing I can say about it. How bad is it? It's
Hmm.
great. We love it. I think going in and out, I constantly bump the awning light because it's one of those touch lights,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't realize it's on until I'm on the freeway and the sun's down, and I can't, and I'm like, why is there? I feel like there's a vehicle over here on the right side, and because it's lighting up the whole right of the right side of the vehicle. So I drive down the highway with the awning light on. So that's and again, that's a super easy fix. I could take that switch out and put in something that's not the touch light.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm nitpicking, right?
Right.
Uh, you know, so I don't think there's anything I hate. I don't think it's fair to say that I hate anything. I think
Yeah.
that I think you put it perfectly earlier, which is it's a mild inconvenience, and
Mm-hmm.
something I'm perfectly happy with living with.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could have a third thing. I don't think there's really a third thing that I could think of. I was trying to rattle my brain. I would like really, maybe the placement of the faucet knob.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. You posted a mod,
I,
I think
yeah,
this weekend, right?
I did post a mod this weekend. It was because certain parties shall remain unnamed that may have accidentally almost flooded the van. Not me. So, but I closed the lid, and if you've got multiple people and you're in the van, you're not always kind of aware of what's going on, and so yeah, I shortened that the handle, and somebody posted that it's the same thing on other manufacturers' vans as well. That
Oh
if
yeah.
they use the same sink, apparently that's a thing.
It's still
I'm
a
not aware.
dometic sync, right? Or something? I
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
is. I think you're right, but I don't
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
apparently it's kind of a thing that's out there that is a known issue, but it's not a storyteller issue per se.
Mm,
But it's
okay.
yeah, it is a thing, which I honestly, when I posted, I wasn't 100% sure if I was the only one in the world that was having this problem. I was doubting it, but I really didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, you never know until you post it, so.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
S- So, what other issues have you had with the mode? Whether it be like
Um,
mechanical or like little things of that nature, with the faucet, or have you had something pretty big happen? I don't know.
no. No. Oh, I did allude to something earlier, didn't I? On my maiden trip, I did have an issue, but it was a Mercedes issue.
Mm-hmm. And what was
Um,
that?
so the driver's seat got stuck backwards
Oh.
on my trip home. I was on a farm in East Texas at a Harvest Host location,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to go turn the seat back around and it wouldn't move. And I thought I was going to be stuck. So the power had gone out on the driver's side of the vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and basically I pulled the fuse and put the fuse back in, and it reset it.
Okay.
Which you could have done without, by disconnecting the battery and reconnecting the battery.
Mm-hmm.
So for people that don't know, a lot of electrical issues with the Mercedes chassis, because this is a Mercedes issue, can easily be solved by disconnecting the battery and reconnecting the battery.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything's that easy, but if you're stuck somewhere and you've got no other options,
Yeah.
disconnecting the chassis battery, which is under the driver's feet, and reconnecting it, it's worth a try. It's
Yeah.
easier than calling for a tow truck.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you look at the Mercedes, at least the electronic portion of it, I look at it as a computer. And when you run a computer every day,
That's a good
sometimes it
that's a
just
good
needs a good
analogy. Yeah,
reset. Something's
right.
going to happen, and it just needs a little break.
Yeah, no, that's a very good analogy. It's like when our phones stop, they start misbehaving. What do? We restart them.
Yeah.
Same thing with the computer. We restart them. So that's a yeah, good point.
So, is there any last tips that you want to talk about and you can share to the group
Um,
before we end?
no, I don't. Again, you're the one asking the questions, right? So we're going to have to at some point though turn the tables on you, right?
Oh,
This is coming.
well, whoa, whoa. We'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see.
your time is coming. If I'm the guinea pig, yeah, yeah, your
Okay,
time is
fair enough.
coming for
I'll
sure.
always be looking over my shoulder, be like, "Where's
Yeah,
Paul? What's
uh-huh,
he doing?"
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Oh,
Holding a microphone or a camera. It's yeah. Uh-huh.
are you making it out to the Mode meetup in April out in Utah?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh,
And
okay.
I have a very good reason for that. So my very first grandson is having his very first birthday, and so I'm not
Oh,
gonna. Yes, I'm not gonna miss that.
okay, fair enough.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah, my daughter would probably never forgive me if I decided, hey, so I'm going to go to this thing, and he's only one. He's not going to. Yeah,
Why don't you
I.
come with?
Yeah,
It'll
why
be
don't you come
fun.
with? Yeah, not a conversation I'm going to have. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's so for me, yeah, that's definitely something I am planning. And I will be posting some stuff here probably in the next week. I don't know when this is going to go up. When are you going to put this up?
TBD. TBD.
Okay, so I am going to be posting some Phoenix meetups
Okay.
for the summer, and I shouldn't say Phoenix meetups. I'm going to be doing some Arizona meetups for the summer, and for those folks that don't live in Arizona, what we do in the summertime is we go up to Flagstaff, we go up to the national forests locally here, and it's the weather's great. It's in the 80s, and
Wow.
you're in national forests, and there's a lot of BLM camping that can be utilized up there. There's no restrictions on group sizes, and lots of beautiful pine forests. So I will be posting some meetups. People are going to be, I'm going to try to give more advance notice so that we maybe can get some folks coming in from out of state. I will be attending at least one of the Overland Expos coming up, and I think that the one in Flagstaff is in September. I might do a second one, which I'm a huge fan of. I've been going for a few years, and they're lots of fun, great learning. I got to figure out how I get a teaching gig there because that
Oh,
would be
yeah.
like my dream job. Yeah, for
That'd
sure.
be sweet.
So, but there's some great stuff that's going to be going on this summer, but I will not be making the April one. No.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer, but
Yeah.
I'm sure our paths will cross along with other people in the forum too. So
Right.
I think it's really neat that we finally are going to be able to get a chance to actually meet each other. Because it's one thing to be behind a keyboard and like type away and say whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
look at like some picture that you have no idea who that person really
Yeah.
is.
Right. I know. I know. I don't think I posted anything of me. This will be the first time a lot of people will actually see me because I'm usually just pointing at stuff or showing my hands or
Hmm.
something along those lines. Feel free. I'm more than happy to answer. If I don't get back to somebody right away, it's usually just because I do have a real job. I actually do work. You guys may not realize this, but
What?
yeah, I know. I get that a lot. What? But I do have a real job. I oversee. Actually, I work for a national construction material company, and I oversee inside sales and customer
Mm,
service for North America.
okay.
So
Wow.
I am super busy. Uh, yeah, super
Sure.
busy.
Sure. Hmm.
No, really, I really am. But I do, I find time after hours because this is my hobby. I love doing this stuff. I'm passionate about helping people. I got a couple of kids that are teachers. Like it runs in our blood. I
Hmm.
love sharing with other people things that I've done that maybe maybe it'll help them. Maybe it won't, and if it doesn't, that's okay. If you want to send me a PM that it was worthless to you, I'm okay with that too. I've got thick skin. Trust me. But if you like them, you're welcome. I'm glad. I'm going to keep trying to post stuff as much as I can. If there's anything anybody wants or needs, or if there's somebody that's thinking about a mod, I'd be more than happy to look at it. Heck, I'll even do it. So
Oh. Oh,
yeah,
wow. That's awesome. So where
yeah,
can people find you? So on Facebook, you're Paul Pritts, right? Or do you have
yep,
Instagram or
I
I don't know?
do. Yeah, it's Explore Life, so it's XPLRLIF. There's generally a lot more stuff on Instagram than you'll see on Facebook.
Hmm. Yeah.
I try to do 2 or 3 posts a week.
Hmm.
Different places that we've been or things that we've done, stuff like that. I haven't done
Nice.
a lot of mod stuff on it, but I'm going to be adding some mod stuff. So
Nice. So I want to end the podcast, and this is how I'm going to end every podcast. So don't feel like a guinea pig for this portion. But so I'll end the podcast
I'm
with
not
this one
trusting you right now. Yes.
with this one question. What does it mean to be part of the STO Nation community?
That is a great question. I think back to a recent video that I saw from the CEO of Storyteller, and he talked about this community, and he summarized, I think, the thoughts that I had up to that point of it's really a unique movement. It's a community of people that are very like-minded. Uh, for me, it's unusual. It's kind of a weird thing, and I would personally like to thank Storyteller for putting together a product that actually they've created this community. I mean, we haven't done it; they have. They've kind of given us the tools, and sure, we've kind of done our part. But I think if they didn't put together such a cool product and create such a kind of a vibe with their product and their marketing and their sales, that you wouldn't have the you wouldn't have what you have now.
Well, Paul, I'd like to thank you again for coming on the podcast, and I hope you have
Welcome.
fun in your future endeavors. Don't get
Thank
stuck
you.
out there.
No, not yet. Not yet. All right. Thank you so much.
STO Nation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Younghwa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golsong.
The original music and artists is done by
Jason Walsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
And the assistant sound designer is
Peng.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Younghwa with STO Nation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.